All right, let's call a meeting to order. Madam Secretary, we're all present. I think what I'll do tonight to start, have one person down that wants to speak. We'll have several here, I don't know. How about a motion that any county official that this budget affects, pertains to suspend the rules and allow them to speak?
So moved.
All right, so moved. Now, we're not letting it, the motion is not, we're not opening it up to the general public.
County official.
County official.
Yeah.
Got a second? Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposition? Okay. Motion passes. Mr. Griffin?
Basically, the rule means that if I brought somebody back with me to support what I'm gonna say, can they speak?
They're not a county official.
No.
We'll have to have another motion to get them up here.
I'll make that motion.
Well, have a motion to allow accompanying people with Mr. Griffin to speak. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposition? Motion passes. Mr. Griffin, bring who you want.
Thank you, sir. I know I'm getting the budget, the difference between my budget, Ms. Jessica, the difference between my budget this year and last year is $12,545. That's the difference in the bottom line. We hired Mr. Brett Wallace in October. He has done an outstanding job. As you can see, we just got a summary packet that we put it out. This is what he's done. We've been talking about this for a couple of years now. We finally got him hired in October. And he has done an outstanding job. And I can sit up here and talk all night about, what a good job he's done. We get a college educated kid, for $12,500 a year. He's from here, he's gonna stay here, he's gonna get married here, and, I think $12,500 for that. He's gonna be almost full-time in the school system, working with his kids. And you don't, I think it's a bargain. That's what I think. I think it's a real deal for the county, and, I'm gonna turn it over to Miss Jessica. She's been working with her at the high school. I'm gonna turn it over to her.
Thank you. I just wanted to speak on behalf of the position with 4-H. I'm a teacher also at the high school, and Mr. Wallace came and met with the science teachers at the high school to talk about how he could incorporate more activities to get kids involved in different programs at the high school age. I also have children within the school system, and I know he's working hard with 4th and 5th grade, also with the middle school age. And so this position, I feel, is an investment in our future. It gives the kids in our county another outlet. All kids can participate in those programs, and all kids can be involved in 4-H. And it's not just a speech competition or raising chicks. There's something for all children in that area. So when you're considering your budget, 12.5 is a large portion of money. But when you think about what the money is going for and how it is an investment into the kids in our county, I feel like it's an important investment to be made. And thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Any questions?
Mr. Craig, Mr. Craig speak.
Yeah.
As far as represent the position, it has been a valuable tool in the school system, and if there's any way we'd like to see it continue, he does a great job. I know personally, I've been in the room where he's been working, and it's very educationally and socially, I think it's a great program, great position.
Thank you, Mr. Craig. Anybody else, Joe?
You got any questions on me?
Well, just a couple of things. Let me tell you this. Everything you said, I know I don't think anybody on this committee disagrees with you. We don't disagree with any of that. In fact, any of these new proposals, I haven't found anybody up here that disagrees with them hardly at all. Our here's our problem. We're in deficit spending $1.3 million. And we made some tentative proposal cuts, we hadn't taken any vote. We've got that down to about $680,000, which we might live with. We might live with the other. Now, I explained to this committee the last time we met, and if there's any other alternative out here, I don't really know it. We can make these cuts and live with it. That's one option. I'm not saying that's what we're going to do, that's one option. Another option is we can lay off existing personnel,
That makes break.
which wouldn't make much sense to lay off existing personnel and hire some new ones.
Brett's already working, he's existing.
Okay, I'll do this. The other option is raise taxes. You're not gonna get one vote up here for that. I don't think. I might be wrong, but I don't think you're gonna get one vote to do option 3. So we got to work within option 1 and 2. Now, he is existing. I think the only question that came up here, he was hired before we knew we were gonna have to handle the 12.5. We did not realize that.
Well, I've got minutes here from Ag Committee meeting and Farm Bureau meeting where we talked about this almost over a year ago. That the county would have to come up with their portion, which is 22% of his salary. And I've got minutes here from those meetings where we talked about it.
I guess, Joe, my question would be, so you don't get the 12,000, whatever it is, 500, then Brett's job is gone.
They would eventually cut that position, yes. Not necessarily, they will cut the position.
I don't wanna see that happen, but I can't, I respect you and what you do, I've been your friend a long time, but we're all in a pickle up here.
I understand.
And it's, we've got to do what we've got to do.
But I do want to, we knew about this, we knew this was coming, and,
Well, I'm not disagreeing with that. I definitely knew the position proposal, because I was at Farm Bureau, you announced it. I don't know whether it went over my head. I still didn't realize the county had to pick up that part.
well, just like you pick up my part.
I knew we did yours, but I thought this was something the state was doing in addition to, and I just didn't realize the county had to pick that up.
County had to-
And in all honesty, in most budget years, $12,000 is a drop in the bucket. But this year, if we can find $1,000, we're gonna grab it, because we're grabbing the straw, like I told you. We're responsible to the citizens of this county
I understand, but
to
I
be
respectfully,
fiscally,
I respectfully ask that you reconsider on Brett, because,
understand.
he's already working.
He is.
He is a very valuable asset to this county.
Nobody's questioning that. And he is already working. That is a true statement.
But you also understand, and I think worded it, Joe, I agree with everything you said, but Mr. Jericho back there, he asked for another employee, we've had several others ask for employees, we cut them also.
I understand that, but we've already hired Brett. We already in October, and I hate to see him lose his job, go to Montgomery County or wherever to teach or whatever it is he has to do. And we've had several meetings on this, that you probably weren't aware of or wasn't at, or Mr. Peter either, but, most everybody else up there was at some of those meetings where we talked about it, and it's gonna have, the county is gonna have to pick up 22% of the salary.
Any other
Salary,
questions?
salary and benefits.
Mr. Mayor?
Farm Bureau and Acme for staff.
Mr. Chairman, I rise not only to speak as chairman of the full county commission, but also as the Stewart County mayor, to ask that this committee not make any cuts to our University of Tennessee Agricultural Extension Agency. Our county benefits greatly from the services this department provides. Mr. Chairman, for the good of Stewart County, I ask that your Budget and Finance Committee vote to save the agricultural extension services. These services that our farmers and our youthful citizens receive. Please save them from the chopping block. They are too valuable for this county to cut. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. Anybody else?
Joe, that other position that we talked about, can you transfer that money out of that other position that you got open? Huh? But can it be done?
No, never been done before.
Huh?
It's never been done before, I believe that.
But you got another position sitting there, right?
I've got another position sitting there that's vacant right now, and that money needs to stay in the budget for that vacant position, which they have announced.
If you fill that one, are we gonna have to pick up 22%?
That's already in the budget, on the one that was the net left, this net coal left that position.
But you got that posted, right?
Well,
You
that's
kids
already
got that
posted,
posted.
it's already posted, the university posted, I didn't post it, the university posted.
Well, I got you, yeah.
And, so we will, eventually, sometime, be filling that position, probably before the end of the year. I'm talking about December.
Anybody else have a question on the extension service? Or anything else to say?
Listen, I just appreciate y'all.
Appreciate y'all being here.
Thank y'all for listening.
Yes, sir. That's the least we can do.
Yes, sir, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Is any other county, I'm not talking about budget amendments now, I'm talking about budget cuts and proposals, any other county officials want to speak? Any other county officials want to speak? We got a lot to do here.
Can I speak?
You're a county official.
Okay. I came in front of you and asked you for $15,000 for my nonprofit, and I want to, of course, be considered for some money for my nonprofit, but I know that some of them were, you talked about cutting everybody who asked for more money. Last year, there was a nonprofit that asked for $10,000. They're no longer in the budget. I would request that you, not that I don't want the 15,000, but if you would like to knock me back down to that 10,000 that was already in the budget, and just to cut me, my coalition down to $10,000 instead of 15, that would save $5,000 to go somewhere else in the county.
Appreciate you saying that. Anybody else have a question?
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Where are you gonna get the rest of it?
Fundraising.
Sometimes we gotta do the best we can. Anybody else, county officials want to speak? All right, if not, let's get to the budget amendments and transfers and see if we can get them out of the way on page 1. Madam Finance Director.
We'll go through these. We're approaching year end on June 30th, so these are just, first 2 pages are just basic line item transfers. Please stop me if there's any questions. The first one is just a $50 line item transfer from county buildings for longevity pay. The second one is county clerk's office. He's had a lot more postage this year with the mailing of those new tags, new plates that go on the cars. So he did hire his 4th position, but he didn't hire it until later in the year, so he's got some savings to cover that. He'd like to move the postage from payroll. The third one is just some line item transfers with the juvenile safe baby court grant, just moving a few hundred from insurance into retirement and FICA. The next one is the jail. This is a couple things here. We have savings on the payroll. The reason we have savings on the payroll is the large amount during the year that we get in turnover that happens in the jail. So every time a person leaves, it takes a while to get another person in, and we have a 60-day probationary period for benefits and that type of thing. So you typically are gonna have payroll savings. It's not as efficient because they're losing people, but there is a dollar savings. So he's coming up with a pretty significant savings this year, the $38,000. Wanted to move that into, Sheriff's had an increase in his health insurance, although he's had turnover, he's had more people pick up health insurance for the year, so that's that $14,000.
insurance is there, and then, medical and dental services, this is where we pay the inmate medical costs. We're doing pretty well right now, I've got maybe $10,000 to $15,000 left in the budget. I'd like to be a little conservative in case anything happens between now and June 30th. And then, propane, of course, that's sort of speaks for itself, and they bought a lot of mattresses and some chairs. They bought all new mattresses for every inmate in the jail this year, so that was what that is there for. The fifth one there on the page is the alcohol and drug programs. That's the Developing Coalitions grant that Ms. Melissa Fields oversees. That's just lining up some line item transfers at the end of the year that she has just got to just received approval from the state on. Anything on page 1 there?
Just kinda cleaning up the budget.
Yes, that's all it is, just lining, yes. Next one, same thing, it's the litter grant, lining up with the state changes we've made there, and the by-county funds, 100% funded on that grant. The next one is the DGA grant. The DGA grant did a market adjustment on 4 employees. Those 4 were chosen for various reasons. This is 100% funded through the state, so we're just moving from one payroll line item to 2 others. The next one is the LEAPS grant, another 100% funded, just lining up. A lot of these grants, they start doing budget amendments at year end. That's what a lot of these are. The next one is soil conservation. We had savings in payroll there because Ms. Joyce Duncan left, and we had a gap until we got a new person hired. But there is an increase in the insurance costs, which is offset with payroll. And then the last one there is the 3-Star grant, another 100% funded grant, just again, moving with what the state approved. On page 3, these are either new monies or new revenues that have been coming in. The first one is insurance recovery. We have been sitting in the heat in our office. Our unit went down unexpectedly with a storm 2 weekends back, I think it was. So that will be insurance recovery. The cost was $5,800. Mayor's office will be the $1,000, and $4,800 will come from insurance. The second one is the circuit court. This is a sequestered jury trial coming up in June. It's been rescheduled about 3 or 4 times. We're pretty sure this is gonna happen in June when I talk to the circuit court clerk. The state will reimburse up to $1,000 a day. That's all they do reimburse. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at some additional revenues. We have sales tax, which you've heard me say probably multiple times this year, is up significantly for the county general, over $150,000. So you'll see me pulling from that sales tax on multiple items so that we're not dipping into fund balance.
Is there any limit to the amount of days on that?
Say that again?
Well, they said $1,000 a day, is there a limit on the days?
Oh, the number of days?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think this one is expected to be 5 days or less, but that's, just.
I just wondered if it's real long.
So this is not, a trial that our jury's gotta go somewhere else. This is one that's here.
This is sequestered where they'll be taking the jurors out of the county,
So
actually.
I knew that Dixon County reimbursed us or
Yes.
paid for some, but
This
that's
is
not.
ours.
This is ours.
This is
Okay.
ours. The Dixon County did have, some fees and they
Sure.
reimbursed us for those,
Yeah.
yeah. This is one that is, our
Okay.
case, yeah. So, they're basically, and those charges there, that's for the lodging, that's for the food, and then you have to actually pay the jurors as well, $11 a day. The sheriff's office is the third one there. We had 2 different vehicle accidents, which is that 7,500, the first one. He had some additional revenues, the drug control fines, that is up more than what we budgeted. So we're taking that, as well as he's had some savings in in-service and other wages. He's had a pretty big increase, the 5,500 and 1,500, that is the court security. The judge now requires that 2 officers be in the courtroom, where in the past, we used to run off of 1, plus you've got the people at the front door. So he's having a lot of, with all the court that's been backed up with COVID, he's seen an increase in his part-time personnel trying to cover while they catch up on a lot of these court cases. So that is mainly what that is, and then he's had some maintenance repair vehicles, and part of that's insurance recovery. The fourth one down, one I don't want to talk about, that's autopsies. I've already amended it once. We had 5 more that just popped up since I think I spoke to you last, so I'm amending it again, pulling from sales tax, that'll give us a few more. We just don't know what's gonna happen between now and June. We'll watch it. And then the next one there, that is the EMS. They've had increased personnel expenses. They're going a little over budget on their things. In speaking with the director, they had over 500 hours was affected both in August, and then he had another episode in January where they had COVID cases. And in their type of work, when one gets COVID, there's multiple people, so he's had to schedule people who This is, next set of money that we're ready to distribute once it's approved, if it's approved. This is the DGA Medical Center employees. They were not included in the December 2021 when we paid out all the county employees because they were grant employees. So we've come back, this is the 9 county employees. This was approved through the county commission at a prior meeting. I just need to have it approved for budget amendments, but I can actually, cut them their checks. We're also looking into paying those state employees. That was also approved by commission, but I am still working with the state on the logistics of that and how we can do it. Because they're not our employees and you can't just cut a check to a person who's not your employee. So we're working on that, but these are the county ones that we want to try to at least get done before the end of the year. The debt service fund, that is just a $55 transfer from, or principal versus interest in the amortization schedules. And then the last one there, that is my mistake, I reversed it, so I had to reverse it back, it was a little over the 4,500 and do it back. This is just where, we've got a remaining 4,500 from a direct appropriation grant, and that's simply a correction on my end from the last meeting you approved. That is it from me.
Any questions, finance director? Thank you, Heather. Schools, general purpose school and school cafeteria.
The first two agreements you see, they are, this is a transfer of ARPA funds from the county to the school system to pay, premium pay to office employees and bus drivers that worked during the pandemic. Both of those amendments, the money just kind of passes through. We'll transfer it in and write the checks basically the same day. That's the way I understand it. The last one is the seatbelt grant for the bus we're buying this year. It is just moving the money in that we get for the reimbursement for the seatbelts we're purchasing for the latest bus we ordered.
Questions on that page?
You say seatbelts, and this bus don't have seatbelts on, is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
What you gonna do with food service too?
I'm gonna do that one too. This is just transferring money that Ms. Jacqueline had left in her budget over to cover the increase in food costs. Both of these go to cover that. So they're just, it doesn't really change the bottom line of her budget. She had some excess USDA money that came in, and she's moving that to cover increases in food costs for this summer.
Questions from school system about any of these budget amendments? Committee? Thank you, fellas. Chairman entertains a motion to approve these amendments for the full county commission to vote on. So move, Mr. Doherty, to have a second. Second, Mr. Luton. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposition?
I want to abstain.
Okay. Eric goes on record as abstaining, both be 6 for and 1 abstention. Okay. That gets those out of the way, so we'll move back to where we left off, I guess. Page 8.
7.
Page 7.
Page 7. You're all right, sir. I stand corrected. Page 7. Hey, that's why y'all up here to help me. I was just checking to see if y'all knew. Go ahead.
First few pages, just some summaries. I know it's been about a month since we met last on May 2nd. So this page, you've already seen page 7, but this was the total capital request. I know you've talked a little bit about the 101 issue, the 1.3 million. Understand that this is in addition to that. These are capital requests. So what we did was we talked a lot about this, and the plan was, as you can see down in the bottom right corner, is we were going to take $473,000 from the American Rescue Recovery Plan Act. The school is going to take on 2 buses, and they did approve their budget last Thursday night. Was Thursday night? Yes. So that'll be later on, but that is now in their budget. And then the General Capital Projects Fund is going to take on $235,000. That is 1 bus and part see above, it shows exactly which request and which fund we'll pull it out of, so that we don't have to actually take anything and add on top of that 1.3 million.
Oh, and 141 is school, right?
141 school, yes, sir.
We appreciate them doing that. So that puts us basically where we thought we would be if they did that, right?
Yes, the 235 is exactly what 171 could take with the pennies it was receiving now.
So with this plan, I'm just making sure everybody knows up here, we're not borrowing any capital outlay money.
No, we're not borrowing any, no debt issuances, and it's not coming against the general operations fund whatsoever.
This is fun, it's good.
Yeah, it's fine.
Usually it's in my ears.
Yeah. Anybody else have a question? Glad to get a little good news every once in a while. Okay, now page 8.
I'm sorry, it's a little small, I do apologize. This was what you saw before when, this was what we did at the end of the last meeting. We sort of went through these different requests and decided which route we were gonna go as far as, what the budget would reflect, and that is what my budget reflects. This is all affecting 101, general county fund. So I'll just sort of walk through them just to refresh and make sure I haven't misunderstood anything or if there's any discussion on anything. The election office, they had requested a new full-time person at around $45,000 was the estimated cost. We decided to go with a part-time person was the decision. So I did talk with the director of election. He said that would be 28 hours, 1150 he'd like to start at, so that would be 20,000 versus the 45,000. The second one was, he had asked for an increase in his part-time's hourly rate. See there from the 1256 to 1330. What was decided instead was just a flat 2% COLA, and COLA's cost of living adjustment. You'll hear me say it, so I just my nose. The third was the county building. That was our custodial person in the courthouse, looking to give him a raise, but we just went with 2% instead of a larger raise. The jail asked for part-time personnel, 18,000, that was declined. The EMA asked for potential increase in their step scales for their 8 full-time personnel. That was not given, but the 2% COLA was given. The EMS asked for an increase in their step scale for full-time personnel. They had 2 options on the table. The first that he brought to you was the 107,000. Then he requested, he would really like the 139,000, but we went with the 107. So the first option. The library has a couple things here. All 3 basically, she was looking to potentially increase the step scale for her full-time personnel to 2 employees. She was looking to increase wages in the non-step scale employees, like the part-time, and she has 1 full-time who's only 30 hours a week, and then she was looking to do part-times. All of that was not given, instead the 2% COLA was given to all those individuals. Tourism, the next one was the increase in the hotel motel tax the chamber requested. That was decided that we would give that. That is, basically, we do receive that out of hotel motel tax revenues, and the revenues we're receiving are still higher than what their total request is. The next one was the veterans office. She wanted a new part-time position that was not appropriated at this time, but we did give the director's hours going from the 32 to where most full-time employees are at 37.5, and that is the 7,000 there. Then the nonprofit increases. The recommendation was made to do 75% of what their request was, the increased request. So that is the totals there. On the individual, we have 5 of them that have requested more. So that is the column all the way to the right shows that 75%. Then the next one is the ag extension. Like I said, these are all rounded numbers, so my number was rounded up to 13. That was not appropriated in the budget that's reflected here, but we did do 2% COLA for them. And then the last one, we had talked about, the steps had already been in the budget, and then the mayor had asked for a 2% COLA across the board. So that's why you see a difference there. Instead, the suggestion was made at the last meeting to put everybody across the board at 2%, whether you be full-time, part-time. If you're full-time, some people were only getting 1.75 or 1.5%, but we just did 2% across the board and froze the steps. So that was the savings. So all in all, you had about $240,000 in savings if we did those things.
You skip over page 13. what, that bottom line is, change in fund balance, 684. Which
So-
one of these categories does that reflect?
There's two things going on. Before, just roughly, I'm gonna speak in rounded terms here. It was 1.3 million was the deficit. Now it's about 700,000. So the difference is made up of that 240,000 that we cut in savings, plus the penny transfers that we're moving, the 12 cents coming from debt service. So the penny's about 360, this is about 140, that's your difference.
That would let the fund balance then would be 3.5, right?
Correct, and I did update that second column since you've seen it last. The number's looking a little bit better. I'm at deficit of 450 right now. I think we'll come in better, but people could still request POs up until the end of the day, and, we'll still have some emergency
The
requests.
684 reflects,
That reflects that reflects everything in the last column, I guess. Is that what
Rounded
you're
column,
asking?
right?
Yes, yes.
good, that's what I thought. So if we add back,
Anything you were to add back.
we add back those, would be 684 plus.
Correct.
that.
Yes, sir.
I just want everybody up here to understand what we're looking at. Okay, fellas, Paige, is there anything else you want to say about the rest of the?
No, I just want to
It's the
summarize
same thing.
what we had
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
yes.
Page 8, we're hinging right now. Page 8, and of course, how it affects the bottom line on page 36. So we all understand where we are, what we're going to do. And this is, I'm not complaining, don't get this wrong. I'll meet 8 more times. This is the 8th meeting we've had, if I haven't lost track. This is the 8th time we've met. This is a lot of meetings. Just kicking the can down to next week, I'm not gonna change one of these numbers one iota. So we just well start making some decisions. Not gonna be pleasant for some of us, and not gonna be pleasant for some people. I can't help that. I'm willing to compromise and go with whatever the majority up here wants to do.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if I could speak on one, I would appreciate it.
We'll get to that here in just a second. But what I was going to say, I don't know, some people look at things differently. Y'all heard me say this before, but I'm gonna say it again, and I think it's important. Any budget, whether you like it or dislike it, is not perpetual. It does not go on forever. It's annual. About 10 months from now, we'll be doing this again. I say we, I've got an opponent, I may not be here, but some of you will be. Somebody on the finance committee will be back here in about 10 months doing the same thing again. So now, whether you like it or dislike it, if you like it, that's well and good, but it's not gonna last. And if you dislike it, I'm sorry, it's not gonna last either. It's gonna come and go. So for what that's worth, Mr. Luton, I think any of these you want to speak on, that's where we start. You speak on them. If you want to add them back, if you want to take more away. And before we leave here tonight, and this is just my opinion, I can't force you into this, and I'm going to try. We need to take a vote and send this budget to the county commission. Now, we've been here long enough. It's not going to get any better. Mr. Luton, you're recognized.
Yes, sir. I'd like to speak on that ag extension program.
All right.
I'm not speaking on behalf of the person, but I'd like to speak on behalf of the position. I think I have been on every side for 4-H. As a kid, I was involved in it. As an administrator at the school, I was behind it and supported them. And about 4 hours ago, as a parent, I dropped a child off at a program that she'll be at for the next couple of days. And I would like to describe that as very organized chaos. Now, the kids were everywhere, parents were everywhere, but that program knew where everyone was and where they were supposed to be. They had volunteers that were there working. That was one program that I would say I remembered the things that I learned in the program that I wouldn't have otherwise. you eat, you're involved in agriculture. And I think it's a big deal that our kids learn where that comes from, that not everything comes from a can, that you are able to get out and raise cows, or have horses, or take them to the horse show down here at the riding ring with directions. Yes, I think that's a big deal. I told Mr. Griffey that I would support that position, and if at all possible, I would like to see that plugged back in. I do understand the restraints that we're under, very much so. I hate that, but I gave the man the word, and that's what I intend to keep. And, if at all possible, I'd like to see that position plugged back in. I hate that it would be a cut, and if he was wrong, if it was wrong by hiring the position, that's another story, but that would be a huge casualty to have to lay off one from the cuts we've made on the budget. And I completely understand the
Right.
restraints that we're in, completely.
Is that a motion to put it back?
Tonight, to make
I'll make the motion to put it back.
I got another question
What?
before we do
What?
that.
No, go ahead, but my motion stands.
Well,
I make the motion.
I got a motion, I gotta take it, and then we'll have discussion.
I got a question for you. On this,
Okay.
on this, and it's all right.
It is all right. Let me see if I get a second on this.
You got it.
All right, got a second? Okay. Now discussion, Mr. Fisher.
Heather, sounds like his job is very important, and I know the boy, I know he does a good job, and I know what 4-H means.
I don't think we need to talk about the person.
But anyhow, I'm
You know
just
what I
saying, let's say a position, alright, this other position, they just posted. Now we got county funds in that, right? And
Yes, the county
already in
supports.
budget, can you transfer the county fund out of that line item to this?
I
this
can, but I'm
person?
not sure if the state, basically, once the commission approves a budget, then Joe Griffey will bring to the mayor and myself what was established. We signed that agreement with the University of Tennessee, and then we're saying we agree to pay that amount, and they bill me quarterly.
But it sounds like in new position, they just posted, this other position is more important,
Yeah.
the way everybody's saying.
I mean, on my end, I can't answer from the ag side.
And, well, I mean, I like to see the position stay, but I never have understood hard somebody when you ain't got the money in place, you know.
I believe we had the money in place last year,
On this position that,
and we were well informed that we had to pay a 25% of the salary.
it wasn't in the budget, evidently. Evidently, it wasn't in the budget, or we're asking for new money.
Did the state not pay that, because we hired him late in the work at Joko?
The state has been paying, we haven't been paying anything, in fact,
But we hired him late in the year last year, and the state paid last year's salary.
Yes,
That was
UT
told of us at that meeting.
I think UT hired in October, I think that's what Joe said. So UT has been paying 100%, they've not been charging us anything because we have no agreement established with UT that we will pay that percentage. So that's what they're asking, effective 7/1, if we'll now pick up the share.
That's what
But
I'm.
we knew we were to pick that up when we hired the man, or Renee, when he did this last year.
The people on the committee were, but the commission was never, it never was brought to the commission to my knowledge.
I have a question. The new person that he got the job posted now, will you pay for it per year?
I don't believe they would, my understanding from Joe is they can't bill us if the person's not hired, so when I get that quarterly bill, it's gonna be less anyway until they hire the position. If I heard him correctly, he said he hopes to hire it by the end of the calendar year, December, so I imagine there could be a number of months that, even regardless of what you budget, I'm not gonna be paying out that much, cause I'm only gonna be paying for people who are actually hired and in place.
What I was saying, there is county money in that position.
Yeah, that position is actually, a little over 15,000, where Brent
And we're
is
needing 12.5 for that other man.
correct.
And that, my position is, why would you go ahead and hire another man when you're needing that other man up there? You know,
Understand?
I wish Mr. Griffin hadn't left.
and we got 15,000 in that position. And we can save that boy's job with that 15,000.
Yes.
is what I'm saying.
And, I mean, this is just a thought, I'm not, but you could do what you're saying, if for some reason UT comes back, there's nothing to say, I've talked to different, we can't amend the budget in the middle of the year, like if we're forced, if they come back and say, no, we will not do that with the fourth position, we just hired them October, if you don't take them on, then we're going to lay off Mr. Wallace. That's just, you know, a thought out there, that you can amend, you don't have to stick with whatever you appropriate at the beginning, we amend all the time.
The only thing that's different about this than any of these other proposed cuts that we've made, it is an existing position. If we don't, and I'm not, you vote like you want to, if we don't fund it, we're in effect laying somebody off.
Yeah, if we don't, without your care, I'm not sure how that's gonna impact, because I don't know if UT.
Well, I mean, he sat there and said eventually we'll have to let it go. I'm taking Joe at his word.
Especially if the fourth one gets picked up, and all of a sudden, we've already
Yeah.
established that one.
Well, I'm gonna say something else. It's not gonna be popular, so.
That was,
Get ready.
that's hard.
It's gonna be hard for me to vote to give, increases in these nonprofits when we're trying to lay somebody off. Now, I'm not saying use it all, I'm just saying use some of it. I understand their needs there too, but it's not gonna affect anybody's job. Now, they may have to get out and raise a little more money, but I don't see anybody losing their job.
Mr. Eric, I go along with you on that, on the nonprofit, as long as it's across the board.
Yeah,
I don't wanna pick and choose.
Yeah, that's right. Just go back to what they had last year.
All right, we got a motion and a second now.
Mr. Chairman, further discussion? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You mentioned a few minutes ago, you were looking for some good news. And I'm kind of an eternal optimist. That may be a flaw of mine, but I am. The finance director alluded earlier to the coroner's report, to where she was able to take some tax revenue, sales tax revenue money to make up for that loss. This is not all doom and gloom here, Mr. Chairman. Remember, we have $1 million coming off the books in 2 years, off of that would go into debt service. We have a liquor tax referendum looming, and also I've mentioned the county equalization sales tax. Now, that county equalization sales tax, which briefly would equalize the county tax with the town of Dover tax, and that liquor tax referendum could generate potentially $500,000 a year for this county. And we leave that on the table every year. So let's don't forget about those two taxes, and let's remember that we've got that $1 million coming off the books in 2 years. Now, there's one more thing I want to say. In 2019, now I'm going to use March 2019 as a base. And I want you to look at our sales tax revenue every March from 2019 till this year. In 2019, our total Stewart County sales tax revenue for the month of March, and we use March because that's when the corporations report, the quarterly reports, so we get everybody. Our quarterly sales tax revenue for Stewart County in March of 2019 was $167,000, okay? In 2020, after we had a Dollar General store open in Cumberland City, we had the Family Dollar open, we kept our businesses open during the pandemic. In March of 2020, that 167 went to 206,000. In March of 2021, we opened the VA clinic down here in this economic zone in Dover, and that exploded their tax revenue. Dover's tax revenue exploded, and in 2021, all of Stewart County's tax revenue for March of 2021 was $270,000. Now let's jump forward to March of this year, when in December, we opened up that Tractor Supply. March of 2022, our all-county sales tax revenue was $370,000 for the month of March. That's more than twice what it was 4 years ago, in March of 3 years ago, in March of 2019, at $167,000. So in 3 years, we've gone from $167,000 a month in sales tax revenue to $370,000. We've got $1 million coming off the books in 2 years, and we've got $500,000 we're leaving on the table every year that we're trying to try to bring before the county to see how they feel about that. So, Mr. Chairman, I just rise to say, it's not all doom and gloom, and going from 684,000 to 696,000, that's petty. Let's don't worry about it. Let's do it. It's too valuable not to. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
What we got estimated for sales tax this year?
For the general county budget,
Yeah.
or all of them? General county is, 923,000.
It will probably be more than that. I agree with the mayor on that, but, you know, it's hard to estimate. You don't know at what point people are gonna quit buying.
We've been using a 3-year average, so like you said, it has gone up significantly, in the last couple of years. 2 years ago, online tax started coming in too, so that affected us as well as all these new businesses that have opened their doors. We're basing it on 3-year. If we based it on a 2-year, it will be much higher, but that will mean the methodology will change. We'll have to go back and, it will affect not just the 101, but it'll also affect the debt service fund, which is why we keep being able to move pennies, because the revenue goes mainly to the debt service. Next, it goes mainly to the school. Third, it comes to the county general fund. The county general fund is the smallest portion of it.
All probability it will be more, but I don't blame you for not estimating more because,
I'd rather you give a conservative number.
yeah, I'd rather have a conservative number and then it's good news when it's higher.
And we talked about it. Obviously, if anybody watches the news, I mean, there's a lot of concern with things that could go with the economy, so we, 3-year was a little bit better just basing on the last 2 years when we had a very strange COVID couple years.
Okay.
But that is something we can amend in the middle of the year, I do wanna say that.
Exactly.
Yeah, we can amend and.
I've got a motion, I've got a second, further discussion, all we can do is vote on these things.
I've got a little more discussion.
Here we go.
We've got people sitting here, people that been here and came before us, and they wanted money too, and they got cut. So, are we fair, or are we not?
Did we lay any of their people off?
That's a matter of opinion, I guess.
Yeah.
Any other discussion?
What percentage of nonprofit would that be dropped to come up with 12.5?
Talking about on only the ones that we're asking for an increase, or are you talking about potentially slashing everyone across?
Well, mostly increase.
Let's see, because we did already reduce it some. The big ones,
I was gonna
I mean,
say,
you have-
75% is like $30,000
yeah.
increase.
Yeah. I mean, just looking at the fire rescue, for example, that was 12,000 right there. I'm just giving you one example. So they asked for an increase of $12,000. That's almost the difference from the ag if you were to want to take from one to give the other. We only had, I think it was 5 or 6, well 5 that asked for new money. Those 5 are actually detailed on page. Yeah, page 8.
What page?
Page
That
8.
you looking at right there.
Towards the bottom.
Yeah, there, yeah.
Yeah, those are the 5 that asked for increased money. Keep in mind the Stewart County Alliance for Substance Abuse, that was a total increase because they asked for 0. This was their first time asking. That was what Melissa Field spoke to, but basically, you had CASA ask for 3,000 more, the Alliance was a new request for 15,000, Chamber was 2,800, Fire Rescue was 12,000, Historical Society was 500, and Senior Citizen Center was 6,000, it was 6 of them, I apologize. And then we had.
If I understand Mr. Fields right, on everything, that she would drop her 15 to 10.
True, but we had already dropped it to 11,250,
Okay,
so
okay,
that's
I
only
got
gonna
it.
be a little bit more, because we were doing the 75%.
Okay, I
yeah.
got it.
But that would save another $1,250.
If we do that, we're gonna have to have a different motion for that. I've got a motion now to reinstate this extension officer position, and I've got a second. Is there any other discussion about that? Because we'll have to go on the record. Mr. Luke, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzgerald?
Can't go along with you, cut these others. Can't do that.
Mr. Fitzgerald votes no. Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
No. No? We'll vote yes. Okay,
I couldn't keep up with what you were
okay,
saying.
I'm sorry, my fault. Mr. Luton,
I want to keep the position, yes.
Mr. Luton votes yes.
Okay,
Mr. Fitzhugh
No.
votes no.
okay,
Mr. Watkins
Yeah.
votes yes.
okay,
Taylor votes
No.
no.
no,
Mr. Norris votes
Yes.
yes. Mr. Shepherd
No.
votes no. Chair will vote yes. I think it's 4 to 3.
4 yes, 3 no.
Okay. All right, now, there's another one on there that somebody wants to deal with.
Who was just talking about something? Speak up.
Hillary, on the
Go back
highway,
to nonprofit.
the highway department get their 2%,
Yes, they had 2% original budget, it's the same budget that's here today.
and what everybody else get.
Yes, they had the 2% exactly.
What else?
I got one thing.
Mr. Shepherd?
Joe was talking a while ago, he said that y'all talked about this at some meeting. I'm sorry, I'm not the farm bureau.
Exactly. I'm
No,
not Farm Bureau.
should be called-
either.
that's not relevant.
And that, well, this wasn't bought before the full
He said it,
position.
Ruffle, advocate, I'm not on that, so I don't know.
It was not
Well,
bought.
Mr.
before
Norris
the
was under the
position.
impression that we heard this last year. I can't say we did or didn't.
It wasn't, might have not been last year, but this thing's been in the works for 2 to 3 years now.
No, as far as Farm Bureau here, that's not relevant to us.
No.
You're correct, no. Anybody else? Mr. Fitzhugh, you gonna deal with nonprofit? Leave it like it is, what you gonna do?
If we cut.
As we had $15,000 back, we got $3.5 million in fund balance. We're not broke. I've been here broke.
I have to. No, the fund balance, fund balance looks good. Deficit spending doesn't look good, that's good.
It does it.
That's good and
She
bad.
thinks it's pennies all year long and brings that up a lot of times.
Well, I want to clear my vote up, what, the reason I voted the way I did. We've got county money in that in that other position. And this position is that important, which it is, no doubt in my mind. I'm not questioning it in no way, but this other position, it ain't been filled, they ought to be able to take that money there and put in that position. And was the reason I voted the way I did.
Could that be amended to do that at a future date?
Yes, that's what I was trying to say, you could, take the budget as is, and then we would go back to when that UT agreement comes into play, and that's where I can't really answer, I don't know how they work that. At one point, Joe thought that might be a possibility, I think today he said he wasn't sure, or didn't.
What do
It's
you-
never been done before, is what he said.
What do you need to ask for that, to have?
Basically, we can only sign an agreement for with UT, for what you all appropriate. At the end of the day, the agreement is signed based on what the county commission appropriates. And
They
that's what we'll-
they won't bill you for that position unless it's filled.
Well, let me put it this way, they billed me for more in the past because of benefits and things. I will not pay a penny over what is appropriated. I will go back and say, we did not appropriate that, we did not have it in the agreement, I cannot pay you the extra $1,000. And it's been done like that for probably 2 or 3 years now, Joe. Just gets in the middle and says it wasn't amended, and I will not pay over what that appropriated amount is.
Look how many of them people are paying.
I'm gonna go back to the nonprofit increases, and I don't wanna make anybody mad, but we cut the increases to 75%. If we cut it to 50%, we would have enough to have the revenue to keep that boy's job. That's
Let's
not
talk
right.
about the nonprofit increase.
I'm talking about the increase, about $39,000 or so.
Is that in the form of a motion?
Yes.
We got a motion, to go back to that, that's what we're gonna have to do, we're never gonna get through this.
Instead of 75%, we'll go 50.
Motion cut this nonprofit increase, not the whole nonprofit across the board. Make sure you understand what we're voting on, just the increase from 75% to 50%. Do I have a second on that motion? Second, all right, Mr. Shepherd has a second. Are there further discussions?
Well, this is not cutting any of them out, and it gives us a revenue stream to pay for this guy that's already working. Whether we like it or not, I think he does a good job. He don't smoke in their business. Or Joe Rick.
I never questioned him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, ain't nobody saying that, but we're funding the position, not the
Here,
person.
we need to all respect one another up here. There's no right or wrong answer up here now. Now, it's just the way it is. And somebody else may fuss on us when we leave, but we shouldn't be fussing on each other.
Amen.
I'm just looking for a way to fund it.
Got a motion and a second. Somebody want to speak for it or against it? All right, we're gonna take a roll call vote. I'll start on this side this time. Mr. Shepherd? Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd votes yes. Mr. Dorr votes yes. Mr. Tabor?
Yes.
Mr. Tabor votes yes. Mr. White? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The unanimous yes. Okay, we have that up. Any other item on there you want to address when we vote on the whole package? I have a motion. We accept this package as this year's budget and send it to the full county commission. Mr. Shepherd made the motion. I have a second. Have a second from Mr. Luke. Are there further discussions? Yes, sir.
So with what we just did, and the new employee, where are we gonna come out of this?
On page 32.
Well, we just made changes.
I know, that's what I'm saying. We need to adjust 32.
I'm asking Heather,
I know.
where are we gonna come out on this?
I've added the money for the ad extension back in and took off, instead of 75%, I changed it to 50%, which was 9,825 more in savings. So with those two numbers changed, the net change in fund balance would be negative 686,349.
You can do that again. 686.
686,349, leaving the estimated fund balance on June 30th, 2023 at 3,585,480.
Now give me the fund balance again.
3,585,480.
Didn't change it. Didn't change it very much, a couple
Very
$1,000.
Very little.
That would have been 684 or 696 is what it would have been. Now we're down to 686.
Right. Right.
I basically went up in deficit $1,400.
Other questions or discussions?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
This is off the subject, and I just want to say this personally to you, Mr. Chairman. For the last 4 years, I have witnessed your even-handedness and the way you handle this committee, and it's exemplary. Thank you for what you do for this budget and finance.
I appreciate
committee,
it.
Mr. Chairman. Again, your even-handedness on this committee is to be applauded, so
I
thank you.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. Any other discussions? I will take a roll call vote on voting on the package to send to the full commission. Mr. Luke, we'll start with you again, please.
Yes.
Mr. Luke votes yes. Mr. Fitch, Mr. Fitch votes yes. Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins votes yes. Mr. Tabor?
Yes.
Mr. Tabor votes yes.
Yes.
Mr. George votes yes.
Yes.
Chair will vote yes with the committee. At the bottom of the page, you have a discussion of any other budget item or new business. Does the committee have any new business they want to bring up tonight?
Amber, how much more ARPA money we got coming in?
The American Rescue money, we should be receiving our second tranche, which is another roughly 1.3 million. I've already requested it just last week. They opened it up where we can start requesting. A lot of that money has already been approved by you all before we have the cash in the bank, so of course, That's why we're slowly just going through. At this point, we're at, we've done everything we know we can do. There's a lot of the requests, it's not that we can't do it, we know we can do it from the federal side. It's trying to also make sure we're satisfying the state side. And the state has been going back and forth. They actually just sent an auditor out to every county in this vicinity last week. He came in, spoke to us on a couple different changes. So that'll be something I'll be amending all year long to try to get the rest of the money
And
spent
total
there.
figure of what ARCO money we're supposed to receive, do you have any idea?
You
How
mean the
much
total?
money? Yeah, the total amount that we're
Well,
supposed to.
yeah, that's on, the total amount is $2,663,978 was what we received. And in addition, there were also some monies, I can't really speak like the school, they called it the ESSER monies, and we had COVID grants, there's been a lot of other things, but that is just strictly local, recovery money that are.
Mike, do y'all have any idea how much, y'all got more money coming?
We don't know of any new money coming. I mean, we've got ESSER 1, ESSER 2, ESSER 3, which is about, you know, ESSER 1's already expended. We're expending ESSER 2, ESSER 3 money now.
What kind of money you talking about?
About $3.5 million.
3.5?
Anybody else? I'd like to say a couple things before we adjourn. First thing is, I appreciate the school board going to bat on the 2 school buses. Mr. Craig, Mr. Quinn, if you would give them that, pass my statement on, I'd appreciate it. All county officials that got some of your new requests cut, that don't mean you can't ask again next year. It might be worse next year, but it might be better. And that doesn't close the doors like I told this committee. This is an annual budget. It is not a perpetual, forever and a day budget. We're trying to get by this year. I appreciate this committee, and I say this with all sincerity. I appreciate y'all. I think we work good together. We may have had a crossword or two at the time, but who wouldn't? After 8 meetings and piling over these figures, I appreciate it.
I just like to say, this is a tough committee to be on.
It is.
And a tough committee to be on.
Without any other discussion, motion to adjourn?
Well, hang on.
Oh, okay.
Lighter notes, we're about finished, Mr. George, want you to know we're proud to have you back.
Amen.
Great to be back.
I think you look now as good as you're gonna get.
Yeah, I like that.
Looks like you're gonna ever look.
But you had us all very concerned, want you to know you've always been a big part of my life, I'm glad to see you come through everything okay.
Thanks for all the prayers.
Yes, sir. Now, motion to adjourn.
Glad to have you back, Mr. Norris. Motion to adjourn, Mr. Luke, do I have a second? Mr. Watkins, we stand adjourned.